Season 6, Episode 11, number 219 of the Decoded Podcast. The on-ramp today was epic. That's
Mhm,
why we are 37 minutes past when I assumed we would start.
mhm, mhm.
That's how it goes, I guess, right?
Yeah, we're both throwing our hands up in the air for anyone that is not watching our YouTube feed right now. That's the alt. I just did the alt text. That's the alt text to our video. Um, you know what I like? Well, you do, but just what I dig is when what seems like really disconnected. One of the things that Decoded has kind of harmonized for me is seemingly disconnected moments in my week, how they kind of hang around a theme. All of a sudden, kind of a theme emerges. Often, well, almost every like you and I don't arrive here on Saturday. We don't arrive. This is here's where we brag. We don't arrive with a topic, right? We're not at that point. We don't have a topic. We got stuff that we've shared throughout the week, but everything can change in the on ramp, which I love. And I love how it changes and then changes exactly into my experiences for the week, which is kind of weird to say because if what we started talking about the on ramp was obviously about the week, how it sort of like how it sort of assembles the educational experiences and the dad experiences and just the dude experiences throughout the week. And then this morning, as I was hustling around and gassing up the car and running some errands, I was listening to a podcast. I don't even remember the company. Actually, I could probably tell you the company. It is um it's from the Atlantic and it's called How to Build a Happy Life. And this one's on parenting. So that's what I was listening this morning as I was hustling around. How to Build a Happy Life, the Atlantic. And what they were talking about, do you remember a few years back where there was that psych study that was released where they were looking at um, they've called it the actual video that was released was called Gorillas in Our Midst. And the 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 text that pops up at the front of the video is um, count the number of passes that the basketball team makes. And so in the video, a basketball team kind of comes out and they start passing a ball around, and you're focused on counting the passes, counting the passes, counting the passes. And then at the end of it says, how many passes did the basketball team make? And you're kind of like, okay, well, people are scrolling back into like, how many was it? How many was it? And then it asks another question at the end is like, did you see the gorilla? And people are like, what? What? Gorilla? And then all of a sudden people are going back into the video again. And in, about 10 seconds, whatever it is, into the video, the basketball players passing the ball, passing the ball, passing the ball. Somebody dressed up in a gorilla outfit walks out in between them into frame and kind of walks around for a bit and then walks out of frame. And this study found that like 46% of the individuals that did this, originally it was a psychological study, did not notice the gorilla. And you could Google the Google the video. It's out there. And then there were different iterations of it. There were ones where like it was obviously there were different things that happened in the video, like people started messing with it, and then it was like, okay, two different teams. Like it was just the example was kind of expanded. But this was a study that a psych department did. And it talks about how in the process of really focusing on one thing that you think is important, or when you've been told it's important, how you can really miss out on other data and really, really obvious data. So the fact that this gorilla walked through the frame, and when you see the video, you're like, if you happen to be, one of the 46% that did not see the gorilla, if you watch the video, um, you're basically like, how did I not notice that? Like how did I not notice this? Now, how to have a happy life parenting, it talks about this from a parenting perspective, like what you focus on when you're a young parent. Uh, and all the little details, like all the little sort of specific things that you're constantly monitoring and tracking, sleep schedules, eating schedules, bathroom stuff. Is your kid transitioning between this milestone and this milestone? And saying that sometimes in in sort of paying attention to those things, you're sometimes missing out on your connective tissue to your family, to your wellness in general. So it's that kind of split focus. But this gorilla factor, I feel like this past week has been an exercise in that. From the gorilla for me was like I use Google Keep and I set up a weekly checklist in Google Keep, and I've gotten used to it. It's effective. I like the user experience of doing it. It integrates well both with my sort of personal life and professional life. And I have my to-do lists pinned. So when you use Google Keep, the actual interfaces, you can pin it or not pin it. If you don't pin it, then it just falls down into your stack of different lists that you've created. If you pin it, it always stays near the top. So I try to keep, especially if I have lists that I haven't finished, they remain pinned. So as soon as I finish it, I unpin it, and it just kind of the visual is it falls down below to the regular stack. And I use hashtags or labels to organize it. So my to-do label, I can call up everything that's been a to-do list since I started using Keep. The gorilla for me was looking to see, like, I had 4 weeks. I had stuff on those lists that there were things that I had put on a list at the beginning, sort of mid-October, that I still haven't done. And then there were things that I had replicated across lists that it was the same thing, just on 2 different lists. So the gorilla was the sudden realization that I'm sort of looking so frantically at trying to get all this stuff done every day, but I'm missing out on these other larger pieces that I still need to get done. So I had mentioned to you poloing that yesterday was a stay at school. It was like I generally don't stay at school after school. I head home, I hang with the fam, I get dinner rolling, I'll do some grocery shopping. Like I'm just once the parking lot clears, which is usually within 15-20 minutes, I try and leave work. Um, and I've done work to intentionally move any of the crews and committee things that I'm on to lunchtime meetings. If I'm going to be using up personal time, my preference would be between the bells. So at lunch, as opposed to at the end of the day. So staying a little bit later yesterday, that's what it was. It was just getting at the gorillas. And like I said, I had a couple other moments. There was conversations this week, stuff that was sort of camping out on. I was focusing so much on getting through my days. And that's a sense like I'm fulfilling a task that I've been told I have to do, very much like this gorilla experiment that people were told to focus on the passes. But I wasn't really paying attention to the other bigger pieces I had to finish a safety plan. Like I had sort of like bits and pieces of that. I had to polish up some notes from an in-school team meeting. I had to have a follow-up conversation with a teacher about helping them support a student with ADHD. So there were gorillas there that were stacking up. And here's the last thing I'll say about this, is that all the gorillas, or the gorilla moment in these things that I hadn't completed, they were starting to fade in their importance. But I mean, they were starting to fade in their importance, but importance is the wrong word. When you put something on your list because you know that it has to get done, there's an energy, a determination, like I got to get this done, but I know I might forget it. So I'm going to put it on the list. Now you could say, just get it done right away. Like, don't put it on the list, just take care of it. And I get that. I've done that personal, professional reflection about, how do you prioritize lists? Why use lists? I get all that. But I'm just talking about that energetic feeling of connection or connectivity to your lists. And when you look at the things that you have to get done, there's stuff for me that I look at, I'm like, I get lit up right away when I see it. And then there's other stuff that I'm like, even if I go, that thing might be still really, really important, like fundamentally important, but my distance from it kind of allows me to kind of go, and I'm starting to not like that. I don't like the fact that my initial instinct is this is really important, get it done. And that I start to get some distance from it. And all of a sudden it doesn't seem relevant anymore because I start to question my own decision-making process. Like it almost feels like a professional right hook. Like Why are you doing this? Like, this is bad. Like, it becomes ethical for me. Like, you're a bad worker that you somehow can distance or disassociate from its importance. Get that stuff done. Um, so this week I was wrestling a little bit with that, the gorilla factor, paying attention to important things, but not noticing the gorilla kind of dancing through my day. Like, yo, dude, I'm a gorilla. You gotta acknowledge me. So,
There needs to be room to recognize the gorilla, right?
mhm.
Feel like that's the spice of life is the gorilla. And you have to remember to try and look for it. Funny, I think that I've built in a little bit of gorilla each day.
Tell me
Uh,
about this.
well, I'm
Wait,
purposely
gorilla noticing, or you like to be the gorilla in other people's days?
no, well, I like to be the gorilla, but
There we
I
go.
don't think I
Walk me
am.
through this. Yeah, walk me through this.
As I'm going from student to student, school to school, situation to situation, I am looking for the gorilla around me, right? Like I'm purposely seeking it out. So whereas the gorilla likes to be the ninja and jump in and wonder if anybody will notice. For those who do notice, it's a good thing. For those who don't, oh well, maybe next time. I'm literally walking into spaces, walking out of spaces, looking to see if I can spot the gorilla because I just feel like I need that every day. And and how it plays out, it's really cool because the gorilla is always a different thing. It could be anything. The gorilla can be anything. It's I need it. I need it because I it was earlier this week that I was just like I literally took time to wonder what it is that I'm doing. Like what am I doing in my work? And is it making any difference? I had that thought. I talked to a friend about it and basically said I had a friend ask me a really great question around like tell me more about your work because I think we might need more people like you, which then caused me to chuckle because I am the only one in elementary. In high school, it's built in, but I'm the only one kind of going from place to place. And sadly, I did not provide my friend with the response that he was expecting. I think he was expecting he was he was expecting me to say that all is well, all is going to be well. And my response was not that. My response was that I work in a dark place, but I'm always looking for the light. So if we can switch that up, I'm working in places where I'm surrounded by people, but I'm always looking for the gorilla. The gorilla can be anything that kind of well, that's weird. Somebody's calling my personal cell phone, but I don't know who it is. So therefore, I do
It's a
not answer.
listener, longtime
Yeah,
listener, first time caller.
that's funny. Hello, you're on the Decoded podcast.
Oh, we should totally add that in. That would be awesome.
Um, that would be funny. But anyway, so I said to my buddy, I'm in the dark, pal, but I know that. Like I signed up for it. I'm in the dark, but I'm always looking for the light. Because there is light. You gotta pay attention, I believe. I'm surrounded by people all day, things all day. I'm looking for the gorilla. I have to. Or else I know me. I know me. When I got into this job, my wife had a concern. Her concern was, do you realize and recognize? Do you realize and recognize the clientele stereotypically that you're going to be working with? And I was like, tell me more. And she was very concerned for me and my mental health. She said, how are you going to deal with the stories you're going to come across and the situations you're going to come across? How are you going to deal with that? And I remember saying, I don't know how I'm going to deal with it, but I'm really up for this. Like, I really feel like this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. and it was still unknown to her, and, she's known me for, like, oh my god, 24, 25 years? So she's like, "I know you. I know how you operate. How are you going to deal with this? I'm concerned about your mental health. I'm concerned about how what this could do to you. How you're gonna deal with this." And I just remember saying, I'm taking a major jump here. I just feel good. I feel like this is something I wanna do." The job description really called my name, it called out to me. And so now I'm in my 2nd year of doing this, and it is a little bit lonelier. Last year, I had a teacher trainer, and my social worker was always like, the 3 of us were always talking. This year, it's different. There's a new social worker. She just started. We don't really know each other. She works part-time. I don't have a teaching partner to bounce things off of, so it's different. But, um I make it up every day when I leave the house. I'm like, I gotta look for the gorillas. I'll find them here and there. Um, Here's a funny gorilla story. Walk into a school Thursday, it's friggin' chaos. Like I can see the chaos in the office. I can just see the chaos, and and I'm getting ready to jump into chaos, right? Because I'm ready to talk to a student and see what's going on. The day didn't start well for them. A teacher I know comes over to say hello. We're chatting, and these two kids come out of the gym. They're like in grade one, and they know the teacher, so they stop and like, "We need to tell you something." And the teacher says, "What do you need to tell me?" And they're like, "There's a bird. There's a bird in the gym." And she's like, "Oh, really?" And then I just jump in. I'm like, "Did it talk to you? Did it fly near you?" And I'm literally like, I went from grade 7 and 8 re-engagement teacher to grade 2 teacher instantly. And they're looking at me with this, they're like, "Who are you? And what are you talking about?" And it was so funny. The one girl wanted more from me. She's like, "Tell me more about your bird experience." The other girl was like, "This guy doesn't know what he's talking about." That was my gorilla because I was enjoying every minute of that. I'm like, these two kids don't have a clue what I'm about to walk into or where I just came from, but they are my levity for the moment. They are the gorilla talking about the bird in the gym. So then when they were done, I'm like, "Okay, go back and make sure you keep an eye on that bird. You got to see, where it's going, what it's doing." And they're just like, again, the one girl was like, "Yeah." And the other girl was like, "Who are you? Why are you talking like you're a grade 2 teacher when you're clearly not?" There's my gorilla.
Those are some good gorillas.
I have to look for them. Some days I don't. I mean, I'm talking in general. In general, I'm looking. But
Mhm.
some days I'm just caught in the moment, going from place to place, thing to thing, issue to issue.
Yeah, part and so this whole social experiment is one part missing out on things, but the other part of this that is sort of like equally fascinating is following rules that you've been told to follow. So it's astonishing, like you okay, astonishing to miss out on the stuff and cool for you that you're noticing that. Because that is a fun experience, total fun experience. Um, the fact that the instructions of our day can be so intoxicating that we stay focused on the basketball being passed back and forth, and our willingness to follow that instruction to the detriment of our observation, right? So you noticed a moment. What you did is you were no longer following the rules of your job in that moment. So you had a decision to sort of step out of that and become something that wasn't necessarily your job description. And I'm oversimplifying this, and I get we sort of have that happen all the time, where we're provided an opportunity to kind of like flex a little bit or play a little bit or kind of do something that isn't exactly the on paper for what we should be doing at that moment. Um, but there is an element of this that enhances my mindfulness of how I follow the rules of my job. not to the point of where I'm looking to do something illegal or unethical or immoral. Nothing that would put me in the blue pages, but just to put me in the mindset that as I as I decide to follow the rules for my employer and of OCT and OSSTF and the legal system, that me following in it, whatever end it takes me to, I'm also complicit in that process. So I don't get the opportunity to kind of say, well, I'm kind of doing my job this way because this is how I was been told to do it. I can say that, but ultimately no one's going to care about that. They're going to care about the actions that I took, as in I should have maybe done something differently. I should have sort of pushed back or fought back or sort of countered or sort of did something differently. So I just in this guerrilla experiment, I don't think I saw it coming through social media when it came through the first time. When it came through the first time, I saw I noticed the gorilla. Funny, the reason that I noticed the gorilla is that it was less about my um, attention to the fact that something new had come into the frame. It was actually I was watching the video in a place where I couldn't give it my full focus. So I was constantly kind of checking in, and then I would look back at the screen. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to be watching the basketball. And it's a short, the original clip is not very long, but my attention was sort of drawn in and out of the moment. And when I look back at the screen at one point, I'm like, what's up with, where did that come from? And then I kind of went back to counting the basketballs again. So at the time, I didn't even process it like, look at what the experimenters are doing. Like I didn't cue into it that way. I actually just thought that was a part of the experience. Like I didn't know that's the other part I maybe of the gorilla thing, that's a bit besides the compulsion to follow the rules. It's that as you follow the rules, to sort of notice something that should be an outlier and not say, hey, I need to stop doing this rule following right now and actually pay attention to this thing. Like it's not that random. It actually isn't just happening. This is being introduced into this moment, and it's an opportunity to kind of pivot or shift. The only reason that I noticed it at the time was because again, I was watching the video, I think kind of like between the bells, between class, like, and there were people coming out of the classroom. So my focus wasn't entirely on the task. So being distracted actually helped me, but I wouldn't say that I intentionally noticed the gorilla. So yeah, that sort of like taking the moment, the discrimination in that moment where these kids are talking about the bird, that could have also been just part of the counting passes moment, like, but to sort of say I need to stop here and kind of spend the time here and actually think through the value of jumping into their moment. That's good. That's good. I think part of that, one of the undercurrents to this conversation for me is that right now we're at midterm and marks are coming out. As I'm connecting dots again, the confluence of our weeks. Um, So, the confluence just of the fact that I was telling a parent the other day, I said, there's some emotions that just naturally pop up at midterm. And I can't say other than we put a lot of investment in midterm. It's in high school to have that mark concretely on a digital piece of paper. Um, it means something to people and people want it to mean something. But there's a gorilla as we're sort of focusing on those marks, right? Like, and that's the context. There's other stuff going on. That's the fact that whatever mark I submitted a week before it's put in the kid's hands, and likely that kid's performance. There's another snapshot. Like, okay, I'm going to put it on there, but it's actually the moment that you get it, it's actually changed, and the moment that I send it, potentially it could have changed. So that got a little bit more messy before it got tied. I don't have a tidy way to wrap it up. The gorillas in our week.
That's good. I don't really see. I don't feel like it's not been wrapped up.
Mm.
But hey, I'm just one listener, right?
We got 2 listeners today, bro. That's awesome. Dedicated, long-time listeners,
First
long-time
time callers.
contributors. First-time caller, long-time contributor.
Um, I would love to see if you drew something today. Hey, it's a gas pump. That's awesome. with a how would you describe that face?
That's the grimace emoji.
Grimace emoji. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Gassing up on the other side of the car. There's the gorilla moment, right?
It can be.
Yeah, you hit up Costco. Don't wait for
Don't wait.
don't wait for the pump. Don't wait for the pump on the side where you're on the gas tank side of your car.
Take
Try
the
that today.
risk.
Take the risk.
Take the
Gas on the
risk.
opposite side.
Yeah, there's a gorilla moment. You make it
There's a
yourself, right?
Yeah, that's right. You feel like a gorilla trying to hike that hose over the top of your vehicle to get it to your gas tank.
I always go around the back of the car.
So
I
you
don't.
pull up far enough, kind of
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I pull
I
up
did it
far.
this morning. I'm constantly trying to figure out the scale of my vehicle though, because I sort of look, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm okay. And then I get out and there's like another foot to go. So I'm like, okay, I gotta like I'm holding the one arm up in the air above my vehicle. So it's like and I don't honestly believe like a rubber hose across the top of my car is bad, but there I am, like, don't let it touch the car. I'm doing like this Cirque du Soleil kind of like thing. Anyways, but I gassed up on that side, so I'm pretty proud of myself for breaking my own thinking.
You were the
I
gorilla for somebody else. Look at that
Yeah,
guy making sure that the
totally,
hose doesn't
totally.
touch the car. Yeah.
Maybe even for a moment, someone said, "Maybe I should try that," and then the other person in the car, like, "You really? You want to be like that? Have to hold the thing up? I don't want it touching the roof of the car." But I hugged the gorilla today, and it was okay.
I wouldn't recommend people hugging gorillas though. Just hug a gorilla today. I wouldn't, but
It is the
that's
metaphor. It is the metaphor that that is Decoded Podcast every once in a while.
if you feel like hugging the gorilla, that's your call.
It
How's
is.
that?
Yep. I think that could be our new line of wellness. Our
Gorilla
new
hugging?
line, yeah, from Decoded, yeah. Hugging the gorilla.
I think
Hugging the gorilla.
we should sell gorilla suits and gorilla uh, like fuzzy dice for your car, but a gorilla.
hmm That would
Uh,
good. I think we could probably do that. Decoded gorilla. We'd
gorilla
have to come up with a
stickers.
gorilla stickers. Another anomaly. Someone just like, what are they doing over there now? New product from Decoded Industries.
You know, I haven't heard from our fan club president lately. I hope
It's okay.
Ramon is doing okay.
Ramona's fine, I'm sure.
Ramon is fine. I wonder,
Yep.
what kind of gorillas she's spotting each day because she's an administrator now. So
Uh-huh.
it'd be interesting to hear about her gorilla spotting as an admin.
I'm sure there's many. I'm sure there's many.
Well, bro,
That's it.
unless that's it, this was season 6, episode 11, number 219 of the Decoded Podcast. Until next time, Clef, keep enjoying those gorilla
Yep.
spotting this week.
Go hug a gorilla, bro.
Have a good one.
Ciao.